Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, a really fascinating side of how we connect with each other. Something we do constantly, but maybe don't think about too much, our body language.
It's huge.
Yeah. And the big question we're digging into, inspired by our sources, is this. Can you genuinely, significantly improve your communication skills in just one day by focusing hard on posture, gestures, and eye contact?
That's the challenge, right? One day. It sounds ambitious.
It does. Hopefully, by the end of our chat, you listening will have some really clear, useful takeaways on this.
It's such an important topic because, we spend so much time worrying about the perfect words to use.
Right.
But these unspoken signals, they can be incredibly powerful, sometimes even more so.
Absolutely. And you think about that statistic from psychologist Albert Morabian, you know the one, that maybe 55% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah, 55% body language, 38% tone of voice.
And only 7% is the actual words. It just, wow, it really underscores how important this stuff is.
It really does.
Think about how often we maybe cross our arms without realizing, or avoid eye contact when we feel a bit awkward.
Oh, definitely. Or fidgeting.
Yeah.
I know I sometimes catch myself doing that.
Me too, especially when nervous.
And these are really common things, as our sources point out.
Yeah,
Often totally unconscious habits.
but they can work against us.
They sometimes can, yeah.
Yeah.
They might undermine the message you're actually trying to send. So our goal today really is to unpack how being more aware, more intentional about these signals.
Like how we stand, how we use our hands.
Exactly. And how we use eye contact.
Yeah.
How making deliberate adjustments there can actually help build trust, maybe project a bit more confidence, and ultimately just forge stronger connections with people.
Okay, let's unpack that. Why is body language such a big deal? One source we looked at uses this great analogy. It calls it a silent orchestra.
Oh, I like that. A silent orchestra. That's a perfect way to put it. Your words are like the melody, but your body language.
Yeah.
That's the whole orchestra, backing it up, giving it the feeling, the emphasis.
Makes sense.
Like, think about a handshake. A firm one often signals confidence.
Yeah.
Right. Creates a good first impression.
Versus a weak one, which might feel hesitant.
Exactly. Or an open posture versus crossed arms. One feels welcoming, the other may be a bit distant or even defensive.
And these cues matter fast, especially in those key moments, job interviews, meeting clients.
First dates, even. Those first impressions count for a lot.
Right. And one source shared this really telling story about a colleague, smart person, great ideas for a presentation.
But it didn't quite land.
Didn't land, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, they tended to slouch a bit, didn't make much eye contact, and it just seemed to kind of undercut the message.
It's a classic example.
Yeah.
And you contrast that with, charismatic leaders who can hold a room even with simple words.
Totally.
Often it's their confident posture, their expansive gestures, that steady eye contact. It really drives home the why, doesn't it? Why pay attention to this?
It really does. The why is about impact.
Exactly. Making sure your nonverbals are aligned with your verbals, that they're supporting your message, not accidentally fighting it.
Okay. So our source material then gets practical. It talks about doing a self-assessment. What kind of things did they notice, first off?
Well, the first step was just, looking in the mirror. And the observations were things a lot of us might recognize, actually.
Like what?
Like shoulders a bit hunched, maybe the head tilted forward slightly, the hands clasped together pretty tightly.
Doesn't sound terrible, but maybe not projecting peak confidence.
Right. It could come across as a little closed off, maybe low energy. But the assessment went beyond just the mirror, didn't it? There was a video call involved, too.
Yes, a mock video call. With a friend, I think. And that brought out some other habits.
Such as?
Fidgeting with a pen.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Looking away from the camera, especially during tougher questions. Very few hand gestures. And leaning back in the chair. Yeah.
The lean back, which can feel a bit distant, especially on video. These are all pretty typical nervous habits, really. They can be distracting.
And then, the maybe more revealing part, recording a short pitch.
Right. The playback moment.
Yeah.
Always insightful.
Oh, I bet. It showed the posture kind of slumping even more as it went on. Hands just stuck to the sides, making things look stiff.
Cheers.
Very few. And inconsistent eye contact with the camera, plus some hair fidgeting, apparently.
Okay, so that really nails down the areas for improvement. Posture, more deliberate gestures, more consistent eye contact.
Exactly. So with that baseline, it was time to learn some core techniques. Let's start with posture. One source calls it the bedrock of body language.
Good term, bedrock. It absolutely is. Your posture sets the stage, It signals confidence or insecurity. before you even open your mouth.
And there's that fascinating research suggesting it's not just about perception. It actually affects how we feel internally.
Right. Amy Cuddy's work, for example. The idea that adopting these high-power poses, expansive postures, can actually lead to hormonal shifts.
Like increased testosterone associated with confidence.
And decreased cortisol, the stress hormone. It's pretty compelling stuff.
It really is. And one source actually tried this out with the superhero stance. You know the one.
Feet shoulder width apart, chest out.
Hands on hips, chin up slightly. Yeah. Apparently, just holding that for 2 minutes led to an immediate feeling of more energy.
It's amazing how quickly that can shift things. A simple physical change. You could try it right now, listening at home.
Totally. And the source then looked at practical ways to keep that better posture going, like setting reminders.
Yeah, hourly reminders just to check, am I slouching? Adjusting your chair for good back support when sitting. Keeping the spine straight, shoulders relaxed.
And even when walking. Head up walking with purpose.
Exactly. And interestingly, they noted that just making that shift in walking posture seemed to lead to sort of more positive little interactions with people they passed. Like, people responded differently.
That's a cool little real-world test. Okay, moving on to gestures, described as the punctuation of body language. I love that.
It's a great analogy, isn't it? Gestures add the emphasis, the clarity. Think about the difference between using big open gestures when you're enthusiastic.
Compared to keeping your hands small, maybe fidgeting.
Right. Which can signal nervousness. The key seems to be using gestures intentionally.
And they highlighted a couple of specific ones. The steeple, fingertips touching.
Yeah, that's often seen as projecting confidence, thoughtfulness. And then there are illustrative gestures.
Like physically showing a shape or pointing.
Exactly. Showing a curve when talking about growth, pointing to emphasize a key idea. It makes your communication more dynamic.
And the advice was to keep hands visible, relaxed, to avoid fidgeting.
Crucial. Keep them out of pockets, off the table maybe. The source mentioned practicing this even in front of a mirror.
Did they give feedback?
They did. Practice with a friend who said the gestures made them seem more dynamic, more engaged.
That's exactly the kind of impact you want. Okay, third pillar, eye contact. The bridge connecting people, as one source put it.
So vital. Eye contact signals interest, sincerity, trust. Get it wrong, and it can really throw things off.
Like too little feels evasive.
Or just uninterested, but too much. Well, I can feel intense, maybe even aggressive.
So there's a sweet spot, like 60–70% of the time.
That's the general guideline often mentioned, yeah. With natural breaks, of course. You don't want to stare someone down.
And crucial point, cultural differences matter here.
Hugely important. What's comfortable in one culture might be too direct or too indirect in another. You have to be aware of that.
Definitely. The source mentioned a technique for practicing, the triangle technique.
Yeah, it's a little trick. You shift your gaze gently between the person's left eye, their right eye, and then maybe briefly down towards their mouth area. It creates a more natural pattern, less like a fixed stare.
Seems helpful if direct eye contact feels hard. Did it work in practice?
It seemed to. The source noted a colleague seemed more attentive in a chat when they practiced this kind of steady but relaxed eye contact. And in another recorded pitch, they felt they came across as more engaged, more trustworthy.
Okay, so posture, gestures, eye contact. Got the basics down. Then the afternoon was about this really interesting experiment, power posing.
Yes, the power pose. Thanks in large part to Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, this has gotten a lot of attention.
Right. So what are they exactly? Open, expansive postures?
Exactly. Think Wonder Woman, hands on hips, feet apart.
Yeah.
Or maybe a CEO leaning back in their chair, hands behind their head, taking up space.
And the claim is it's not just about looking confident.
Right. The research, though debated by some, suggests holding these poses for just, say, 2 minutes might actually trigger hormonal changes. Boost testosterone, reduce cortisol, making you feel more powerful and less stressed.
So the source put this to the test before a mock job interview.
Yes. Held a power pose for 2 minutes right before going in.
Then the effect.
Reportedly, an immediate feeling of a slower heart rate and a definite surge of self-assurance, which is pretty remarkable.
And what about during the mock interview itself? Did the interviewer notice?
Apparently so. The friend playing the interviewer commented afterwards that they seemed in command and also approachable. A big shift from that initial self-assessment.
Wow. That's pretty significant for just 2 minutes of posing beforehand.
It suggests a real potential impact. And they didn't stop there, right? There was another test before a networking event.
Yeah, networking, often a bit nerve-wracking for people.
Definitely. So again, did the power pose routine for about 2 minutes beforehand. Also visualized having successful conversations.
And at the event itself. Any difference?
They reported feeling it was easier to start conversations, maintain better eye contact, use more natural, open gestures. It felt different.
Did anyone else notice?
Apparently, yes, a couple of people commented on their positive energy, and they actually made some useful new professional contacts that evening.
So not magic, but a tool.
A potentially powerful tool, yeah, to shift your mindset and maybe how others perceive you in those higher stakes moments.
Okay, so armed with the basics and this power pose idea, the evening became about applying it all in real life. First up, dinner with friends.
Lower stakes, good place to practice. The focus there was really on connection, using open body language,
So sitting upright, arms uncrossed.
using some illustrative gestures while talking, good eye contact, nodding to show listening. The basics.
And how did the friends respond?
Positively, it seems. And interestingly, they noticed one friend started mirroring their posture.
Ah, mirroring. That subconscious sign of rapport. That's a good sign.
Definitely. Suggests the changes were having the intended effect of fostering connection.
Okay, next scenario. A virtual client meeting. Higher stakes now.
Yes, definitely more pressure there. And the virtual element adds a twist.
How so? What adjustments were needed?
Well, you're mostly just upper body on camera, right? So posture in the chair is key, sitting tall within the frame. And making eye contact means looking at the camera lens, not necessarily the screen.
Tricky one to remember. Did they do the power pose beforehand?
They did. Probably helped with confidence going in. And during the meeting, they consciously used things like the steeple gesture for key points, tried to keep fidgeting down.
And the outcome? Client feedback.
Very positive, actually. The client apparently said they seemed confident and prepared, and they agreed to move forward with the project.
That's a concrete result right there. Validates the effort.
It really does seem to show these nonverbal cues matter, even through a screen.
Okay, one more test. A spontaneous one. An encounter in a bookstore.
Right, this was about applying it on the fly, no prep time.
So what did they do? Just
Yeah.
chatting with a stranger?
Yeah, struck up a conversation about a book. The focus was on just naturally adopting good body language. Standing tall, relaxed hands, friendly eye contact, some minimal but purposeful gestures.
I love the result.
A really warm response from the stranger, apparently,
Yeah.
led to a pleasant 10-minute chat. It just shows how these skills aren't just for big presentations or meetings. They enhance everyday interactions, too.
Makes even casual encounters potentially more connecting.
Exactly.
So after this whole day focused intensely on body language, the big question remains, did it really transform communication skills in just one day? What's the verdict?
Well, transform might be a strong word for a single day, but the reflection was definitely positive. There was clear progress from that initial self-assessment.
You mean compared to the hunched shoulders and fidgeting?
Right, and the feedback from others' friends, the client, even the stranger, consistently suggested a positive change in perception.
And internally, did the person feel different?
That seemed to be a key part, yes. A reported increase in confidence. Likely a mix of seeing positive reactions from others, and maybe that internal shift from things like the power posing.
So maybe not total mastery overnight.
Probably not. Mastery takes ongoing practice. But a really strong foundation was laid. They felt they'd gained conscious tools.
And the power pose stood out.
It was specifically mentioned as a game changer for quickly shifting state before important moments. But overall, posture, gestures, eye contactors, they felt these were now things they could consciously use.
Of course, learning something new isn't always smooth sailing. Were there challenges, obstacles encountered during the day?
Oh, definitely. The biggest one mentioned was just breaking old habits.
Like the slouching and fidgeting coming back under pressure.
Exactly. It highlighted that it requires ongoing vigilance. It's not a one-and-done fix.
Makes sense. Anything else?
The point about cultural nuances came up again. An experience where maybe too much direct eye contact made one colleague slightly uncomfortable. A good reminder to be adaptable.
Right. Sensitivity is key.
And initially, just trying to juggle everything, posture and gestures and eye contact, felt overwhelming.
I can imagine. Trying to think about all that at once.
Yeah, so the lesson there was maybe start smaller, focus on just one or two things per interaction, until it feels more natural.
Those are really practical lessons.
Mm.
So, boiling it down, what were the key takeaways for you, the listener, who might want to try this?
Okay, four main things, I think. First, awareness is step one. You have to notice your habits before you can change them.
Got it. Awareness first.
Second, small changes can have a big impact. Just standing a bit taller, using a few more open gestures, it can shift perception quite a bit.
Small hinges swing big doors.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Third, body and mind are linked. How you hold yourself affects how you feel, and vice versa. The power pose example really shows that.
Body-mind connection. Check.
And fourth, practice makes permanent. Not perfect, maybe, but permanent. Consistent effort is needed to make these new habits stick.
Awareness, small changes, body-mind link, practice. Good summary. So, for listeners inspired now, what are some concrete tips? Where should they start?
Okay, based on the source, here's a practical list.
Lay it on us.
1. Start with posture. Just focus on standing or sitting tall. Maybe set that hourly reminder to check yourself.
Simple enough. 2.
Use purposeful gestures. Think open, illustrative. Keep your hands visible. Try not to fidget.
Okay. 3.
Master eye contact. Aim for that 60–70% zone. Maybe try the triangle technique if it helps. And always, always be mindful of cultural context.
Crucial. 4.
Try power posing. Seriously, 2 minutes before a big meeting, a presentation, even a difficult conversation. See how it feels.
The 2-minute confidence boost. 5.
Record yourself. Video's honest. See what you actually look like when presenting or talking. It can be eye-opening.
A bit scary maybe, but useful.
6. Seek feedback. Ask people you trust, friends, colleagues, for honest observations on your nonverbals.
Good idea. And last.
Practice in low-stakes settings. Try out better eye contact with the barista. Use more open gestures chatting with a neighbor. Build comfort gradually.
That's a really solid, actionable list. Thanks. Now, zooming out a bit, why does all this matter in the bigger picture, beyond just personal confidence?
Well, it really ties into building stronger relationships and achieving your goals, both at work and personally.
How so professionally?
Think about it. Better nonverbals can help with getting promotions, building trust with clients faster, inspiring your team more effectively. It adds weight to your presence.
And personally.
It fosters deeper trust, shows empathy better, leads to stronger connections. It's about clear, authentic communication. When your body language matches your words, people get a clearer sense of you.
Reducing misunderstandings.
Exactly. And enhancing collaboration. It's not about faking it or becoming someone else. It's about letting your nonverbals amplify your best self, your true intentions.
I like that framing. Amplifying your best self. It's about making those intentional choices so your body language supports rather than contradicts your message.
Precisely. And as we saw, it can influence how you feel inside too.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, it really feels like the key takeaway from this one-day experiment is, well, small tweaks can yield pretty big results, right?
It certainly seems that way. Going from noticing slumped shoulders to actively using power poses shows that conscious effort pays off.
The power pose definitely seems like a standout tool for that quick confidence shot.
It does,
Right.
but also just having posture, gestures, and eye contact become part of your conscious communication toolkit that's valuable ongoing.
So for you listening, we really hope this gives you some ideas. Maybe try one thing, a power pose before your nano call, or just focus on eye contact in your next conversation.
Yeah, experiment. And we genuinely love to hear your experiences. If you have body language tips that work for you, share them.
Absolutely. And one source mentioned a resource on active listening skills. That sounds like a great related area to explore for boosting communication further.
Definitely related. So maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Go for it.
Beyond the words you choose today, how might consciously using your body language, that silent power, unlock new levels of connection, maybe even influence in your interactions? Something to think about.